So in this segment, we're going to have a look at using Blender's remesher and smoothing to create bevels, as opposed to the alternative segment where we use the ZBrush remesh to create the bevels. For the baking in this tutorial, I'm going to use the mesh created with ZBrush, but either can be used and should yield good results. So the first thing we're going to want to do is just clear the modifier stack. We don't need this existing bevel as we're going to be creating a new one. So let's have a look at turning this handguard into a remeshed beveled piece, as I believe it'll be a good example for it. So, as you might expect, let's add the remesh modifier, and it'll automatically default to voxel remesh, which is what we're looking for. Let's change the voxel size to about 0.1 and see how this looks. This seems almost perfect, but I think we need a little bit more resolution in the remesh around these areas. This looks more like it. Now all we need to do is smooth this remesh out. So let's add the smooth modifier. Now we need to dictate how many iterations we want to use to smooth this out. And to bring around the relatively large game-sized bevels we want, we're going to want to look at about 15 or 20 iterations most likely. Have a look at 15 and see what kind of results this gives us. Yeah, this is certainly looking a bit more like it. We still have these more jaggy edges around the bevels. However, we can resolve this later using some smoothing. I'm going to increase it to 35 iterations. Let's see if this will improve the results we get. Yeah, I think this is the size of bevel we're looking for. Now all we need to do is, let's isolate this piece and check on its statistics. We can see it's 4 million triangles just for this one piece, which is a bit much. So let's add a decimation modifier to clean it up a little bit. An advantage of the Blender workflow over the ZBrush one is it's all kept live in a stack. But we can go back to earlier modifiers and decimations, etc. and tweak them. Great, now the decimation's applied, and you can hardly even tell the difference. Now, to finish off this layer stack, let's add a weighted normal to smooth over these corners. Once that's corrected the shading, that should give us a really good result. There we go. Now the shading is smoothed out. We have a nice beveled piece, similar quality to what we would get from going through the ZBrush process. So for all the Blender exclusive users doing this project, this is the method you're going to want to take and utilize on every piece of this weapon. Now, certain pieces, however, I will say, may simply work better with just having a subdivision surface applied. For example, consider this part here of the gas block. When applied with a subdivision surface to 2 layers and give it a weighted normal modifier, it's pretty good. We can increase the bevel range a little bit too. Or we can add in traditional support loops and do away with the bevel modifier. And of course remove these sharp edges so we'll actually do it. So this is an option as well to consider for certain parts that may cater to this with large curves better than they would cater to being remeshed. This barrel here seems like another example for simply to add 2 levels of subdivision here. You can see it smooths out pretty well. Similar story with the suppressor. Now, all you need to do is follow through the rest of the pieces of the gun, either adding the subdivision or stacking up the remesh after removing these bevels, and you'll simply have a high poly that you can work with and create excellent bakes with in really no time at all.